we are gonna kick some Nightlord. Nightfarers, heed thee! The Nightlord must fall. The land of Limveld is eroding and nearing its end. Only you can turn the tide against this overwhelming power. But before you venture out to face the unknown, there are several things you must keep in mind before you take flight on a Spectral Hawk. Elden Ring Nightreign is a standalone adventure within the Elden Ring universe, and it begins with you picking one of 8 character classes, known as Nightfarers. However, the Duchess and the Revenant need to be unlocked. They cater to pretty much every kind of playstyle, whether it's up close and personal, slinging spells, diving from above, or firing off arrows from a distance. There's something for everybody. Let's start off with the finest brawlers that love to get intimate with the enemy. More than your bread and butter swordsman, Wylder has a grapple claw called a claw shot that brings the enemies closer or get out of range to avoid attacks. With a wicked explosive attack called the onslaught stick for his ultimate, this attack launches an iron stick that erupts into a huge explosion. This is great to interrupt some attacks and stagger enemies, but if you want to land that critical hit, you're going to have to move in fast. Next up is the Guardian, your beefy vanguard with a huge shield, taking the brunt of attacks with a great shield before dishing out the pain with their halberd. Use the whirlwind skill to hit multiple enemies at once and even draw them in, and his ultimate ability is one for the books. Take to the skies and strike enemies down while reviving downed allies. The Wings of Salvation ultimate skill is the definition of coming in clutch. Duchess, who admittedly is more of an assassin than a brawler, is your cloak and dagger again. And what do I mean by that? She can re-trigger or restage, as it's called, all of the damage that you and your party have caused in the last few seconds onto enemies a second time. Her ultimate finale allows you to disappear with the wind, to launch ambushes on unsuspecting foes, and of course, revive allies. Going on a little tangent here, speaking about reviving allies, you have to hit the crap out of your friends in order to get them back up, and you're on a timer while trying not to get hit by enemies. It's not a matter of holding down a button for a few seconds, you actually have to beat them up to bring down their near-death meter to nothing. Doesn't matter how you do it, so long as there's damage, they will rise up again. If you do end up losing your life, you will lose everything. You will lose all of your runes and a whole level, so be careful because that's really not fun. However, if you're playing solo and you die, it's game over, man. Raider is your classic stacked Viking dude with a penchant for massive weapons that hit hard like a freight train. His retaliate skill has him literally punching enemies into the ground. Not only does he sucker punch enemies, but his ultimate ability is him summoning a huge tombstone onto the battlefield so you can block attacks, provide cover, do some damage when it lands on enemies, and it's scalable, so it serves as a vantage point for you and your mates. Executor is for the peeps that can actually parry for days. He's got a katana, he paints in his free time, and slices enemies on the job. He is your go-to for one-to-one fights because of his exceptional damage, so you know the kind of players that will go for him. Tryhards. He brandishes his own cursed katana that is a nice swift slash, and when you deflect or block enough attacks, the katana will start glowing and you'll be able to unleash a much larger attack. And for his ultimate, you turn into a massive beast that claws into enemies. So if you're someone who enjoys getting up close and personal and stomping out enemies, these classes are for you. Now for our final 3 classes who specialize in their niches. The Recluse is the witch that lives in the deep forest who has had enough of the ruckus outside. Using blood magic, when friendlies hit enemies marked by her ultimate soul blood song, they'll receive some health and magic. On top of that, her skill magic cocktail pulls elements from your enemies and friends alike. Elements like fire magic and holy, and there are a couple more that fill up 3 slots. And on the 4th cast of magic cocktail, she will unleash an effect depending on your combination and the order of the elements. There's a whole list of different combinations for you to explore, so see what tickles your fancy. Ironeye is the archer whose ultimate sends a supersonic arrow piercing through all enemies that's unfortunate enough to be in his path. His skill allows him to create a temporary weak point on enemies by cutting them with his dagger, and damaging the weak point extends the duration of the skill. If anyone is in a pinch and needs support from the rear to stun the enemy or deliver the killing blow, make sure to have Ironeye on your team. The Revenant is the necromancer that raises the souls of enemies for a passive. Her skill allows her to summon whom she calls family through her gracefully playing her lyre. You have the quick Helen, the heavy Frederick, and Sebastian. And her ultimate ability does two things. One, to revive near-death allies, and two, make her allies, summon spirits, and herself immortal for a duration, which players know damn well will come in super clutch when the situation is dire. Now that you've met the crew, it's time to get into the game. Before you venture out, everyone starts off at the Roundtable Hold, and yes, the layout is almost exactly the same, except for it being in disrepair. You can go outside now, the ceiling is leaking, and it's by the beach, which is lovely. You can change out your characters, buy and sell relics that buff your character from this little guy right here that speaks or rather draws in third person. Update loadouts, spar with a training dummy, speak to your fellow Nightfarers, and a lot more. This is your base of operations before you head out on expeditions via the Table of Lost Grace. You get to choose which Nightlord you're going up against, which leads me into my next point, that you can ride these expeditions out solo or with friends, and both experiences have been great. It's a whole different feeling playing solo while you stand your ground against hordes of enemies. You're always going to be outnumbered, but rarely are you outgunned unless you have a severe skill issue. Also, fun fact, there are no restrictions as to how many of the same class you and your fellow Nightfarers want to pick, so you are free to have your team composition be any way you want. Double the Revenants means double the Fredericks, triple stack Wylders for triple the onslaught stakes. Do whatever you want. Hack, slash, and blast through enemies while exploring the ever-changing landscape of Limveld. No two expeditions are the same, as you'll be deployed to different areas with ever-changing biomes and locations. One day there may be a crater, the next there's an entire city for you to explore, and of course to kill everyone inside. There are snow-capped mountains and the ever so lovely rotted woods, so each playthrough will never be the same as the last. Know that each cycle consists of 3 days, each having a day and night phase. During the day, you're mostly free of worry to do whatever you need. However, when the day is done, you will enter the night phase, and water is wet, where the map gradually gets smaller as the map is surrounded by the darkness. If you're ever caught in the night, you'll begin to lose health, so get into the circle as quickly as you can lest you fall and lose a level. Your expedition begins at level 1, and during your first day phase, you're going to be hitting camps, churches, and more, slaying enemies to gather runes to level up your characters at sites of grace while replenishing your Estus flask charges and healing up. You'll find equipment laying about from defeating bosses with special skills or ashes of war and passive effects that stack and contribute to your overall build. They range from getting HP or FP from hitting enemies or increasing the chances of finding more valuable items, and because your class is not bound to any weapon class, pick up anything and everything you can find to aid you in your travels. If you're lucky, you might come across some fallen Nightfarers across the land, which means you can do a little grave robbing. Interact with their hallowed corpses and retrieve their gear for yourselves however you see fit. Your sprint against the night would probably include visiting churches to add charges to your Estus flask, raid fortresses and mines for more equipment, runes, upgrade materials and consumables, fight ever jail bosses for either 10,000 runes or the passive to earn more runes, visit merchants to purchase more consumables and upgrade weapons with the anvil that's nearby, and explore the rest of the map while keeping safe from the night and obviously not dying. Once the night phase begins, your first boss fight is marked by an Earth tree on the map, and once you've arrived at the area, get ready for a fight with the first wave being their minions, and when enough has been defeated, your main target will make their entrance. And if you want to get there quickly, there are spirit streams for you to jump high into the air to get to hard to reach places, and if you come across trees that belong to spectral hawks, they will be more than willing to give you a lift on specified routes around the map. That will save you time, so you don't always have to sprint and parkour to every location. When the first enemy boss has fallen, the second day begins, and it is a race against time once again of gathering resources to take on the second boss. And it's good to note that enemies don't respawn on the second day, so take note of where you've been or risk wasting time. The second day, however, you will also need to prepare to defeat the Nightlord, whose encounter takes place right after the fight with the second boss. The second day is the most crucial to get whatever you need to optimize your build as best you can for 2 tough back-to-back battles, so do whatever you and your party can to be ready to take on the Nightlord. The final battle will put all your skills and wits on the line, with every past victory and failure leading up to this final confrontation between you and the terrible entities that lay siege to Limveld. How this battle ends is entirely upon your tenacity and will to fight. Regardless of the outcome, once an expedition is over, you will be rewarded with relics and merc to spend on more relics to strengthen your character builds, to head out again and fight against the night. There are many more surprises that await you throughout every expedition, from meteorites that spawn horrible bosses, orbs of light that spew out an army of ants, or having the Fell Omen himself hunt you down. The battle for Limveld awaits you, and that's all you need to know about Elden Ring Nightreign. So plonk that game into your cart, grab that hawk, and start your expedition against the Nightlords today.